Good afternoon. I'm Briggs LaSavage. Thanks for joining us. Tragic new details this afternoon on a deadly crash in Douglas County. Authorities now say the two people who died were standing outside a semi-trailer when they were hit by another vehicle. That crash happened just before 8 yesterday morning on County Road A, about a quarter-mile south of Larson Road. This morning, the Douglas County Sheriff identified the two people who died as 62-year-old Martha LaPie of Superior and 36-year-old DeVern Bender of Barron. Authorities say LaPie was having a wooden storage shed delivered to her property, and Bender was the one delivering it. Both of them were standing outside at the back of Bender's parked trailer. And that's when authorities say an SUV crashed into the back of that trailer, hitting both LaPie and Bender as well. LaPie and Bender died at the scene, and the driver of the SUV, 34-year-old Samantha Carlson of the town of Summit, had to be extricated from her vehicle. She was then taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Authorities have not said yet what might have caused the crash, adding that it's still under investigation. We'll update you as we learn more.